I can reflect primarily on just my my upbringing as a child. I mean, I was raised on a dairy farm. Grew up in central Wisconsin, rural setting, not really what you would think would be sort of an architectural background per se, but what growing up on a dairy farm does for you is it kind of puts you in kind of an intimate relationship with the cycles of nature, the cycles of animals, and of things that just there is no negotiation in terms of editing, that kind of thing. So you really become sort of one with that kind of schedule and cycle. And I feel like for me personally, it has followed me and stayed with me my entire life. So it's always been this kind of thing that it keeps you rising early and etc. So that kind of thing was kind of implanted then, and I think that certainly leads to a lot of my concerns for the environment today, and just understanding what's happening and wanting to be a part of that. Passionate about practice, I think. I'm reflecting on this one. I feel like you've kind of either got the passion or you don't. I mean, it's kind of hard to find individuals where it kind of clicks on reasonably late, or conversely sort of clicks off. So I think if it's in your blood, if it's something you care about deeply, it's going to stick with you, and it's going to cause you to stick with this profession. And for me, it did kind of turn on at a very young age. I mean, at about 7 or 8 years old, it kind of really clicked for me that I knew this was something that I was interested in, not knowing that much about it, but it was something that I was drawn to. So maintaining that and kind of keeping that fire lit is something that's important to me. And I think being around people that have that same kind of passion and have that same kind of fire is a way to keep to really keep it burning and keep it going. I think I've got it kind of distilled to 3. The first, I think, is authenticity. This goes to, again, sort of, my upbringing, and what was kind of instilled there. I think what I'm carrying forward with that is things like authenticity in material function, in structural system and use and clarity, and authenticity in that. Second, I think, is one of curiosity. Curiosity is one that is the desire to keep asking questions. I mean, design might seem fairly redundant over time if you've done it for a while. Really, you're kind of asking similar questions and coming to sort of similar answers each time. But I think one of the secrets is to continue to find ways to either ask new questions or ask questions slightly differently. So, I mean, internally in our studio, we talk a lot. We ask a lot of questions. We dialogue a lot about things before we come to moving forward with that kind of design solution. And then the third one is one of stewardship. Stewardship to me means kind of the agency to have control over what I can do for a work to to treat its spot on the planet better than where I left it, and also be a good steward of the profession. Train young people coming into this in the kind of like-minded way of being respectful of place and of practice in the profession. So authenticity, curiosity, and stewardship. Those are my 3. Again, going back to the last question, part of the curiosity is it starts with asking questions. It's fantastic to have. Let's say you're working in a fresh location, a place you're not as accustomed to, so you get to sort of inquire about all of the new interesting qualities of place and how that could potentially find its way into a document, or into a project. But every owner will bring their own sets of values and their own things, but we just want to keep asking the questions and sussing that stuff out. But in terms of the process of design, it can go a couple ways, but fairly traditionally it starts with again, inquiry, and then it's the usual process of sketch and model and render and communicate. And it definitely is a dance. We provide solution, we get response, we modify and move on. And again, the answer does as well. So it's dialogue. It's been it's been interesting over the course of the pandemic. There's obviously been more of this and a little less kind of in-person FaceTime stuff, which I'm getting oddly accustomed to, at this point. So, I do miss the kind of personal interaction, but I also don't miss the kind of time lag that comes with getting to a destination and sitting down with somebody. I mean, I do like the immediacy of this, so I do appreciate this, but we can then pull in voices and inputs from people and places much farther afield, I think, than we ever used to be because of this kind of digital connection. So I find that becomes something good, and we do that in our school as well. A lot more sort of remote reviewers and evaluators and stuff can kind of can come in where that just simply wasn't an option for us before. So we get a better dialogue, and I think better reviews because of it. But in terms of architectural stuff, I mean, I love going back to Zumthor's Thinking Architecture, as a text. It's plainly written. It's an easy read. It's a constant reminder of the tactility of architecture and the potential that tactility has on users. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a nice way just to cleanse the palate before a project starts. It's a great way to kind of take a breath in and a breath out. I think there's no question that the climatological changes that we're experiencing are already changing how we practice, and they're going to continue to, and it's going to accelerate. So I feel that's honestly what's going to be the most impactful thing ahead. I mean, it's hard to predict, obviously, the future, and I think ultimately what you want to do is identify and understand what your core values are, stick to those values, and try to nudge whatever work you're doing, into those directions. And that's honestly the best any of us can do on any given day. The way I went through school is I kind of did this thing where I just put the head down, do undergrad, get your grad degree, and then get out and get in their profession, right? So if I either had to tell myself to do something differently, or even what I tell students today to do, is I would be like, pause, take a breath, go experience some practices, go out and try to work for a little bit. And not only try to work for as wide a range of places as you possibly can. Work for the largest firm you could possibly work for the smallest one, work for one that is a specialty. You will find what works for you, what motivates you, what excites you, and what repulses you, and those are important things to know, about yourself as you're kind of walking forward. So you're not kind of, the whole sunk cost theory of put your head down, just kind of plow through can maybe make you lead to decisions that you wouldn't have if you would have, been a little more open to change.